Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, and it was a good opening day from Arsenal. There was a 20-minute period in the second half where Wolves were allowed to go in the game. Arsenal 1-0 up, and Wolves potentially could have scored if it wasn't for a good save from Raya. But I'd say for the most part, it was a dominant performance from Arsenal where, to be honest, at the back, they weren't as good as normal, but they got the clean sheet. We know how good Saliba and Gabriel can be, but I think Saliba wasn't at his best, but he's still an unbelievable player. But it was going forward, but Arsenal really shined. And Bukayo Saka is a special player. Bukayo Saka is a sensational player. He blew me away today. He was my man of the match. I thought Havertz was very good as well. I've seen a few tacticos online going on and on about Odegaard, saying that Odegaard is bad and making Arsenal worse. But in my eyes, from watching the game as a neutral person, a United fan, I don't see why loads of people are hating on Odegaard online on Twitter, like the tacticos. I thought Odegaard played well. I mean, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. I thought Odegaard had a very good game today for Arsenal. I think his technical ability and ability in tight space is very, very special attribute to have. But Saka was the standout. Havertz was great. Zinchenko, look, he had a good pre-season, but I think it's time for Timber and Calafiore for Arsenal. But I thought Arsenal played quite well, to be honest. I think we've seen Arsenal play better. We all have. But 2-0 against Wolves, opening day of the season, it's always going to be difficult. First game of the season is always difficult because of fitness levels and stuff. Wolves are always a difficult team. And I think you did enough to win the game. You deserve to win the game. Obviously, Raya made a few good saves. And I guess from a United fan perspective, Arsenal don't look unbeatable. I could say that as a positive from a Man United perspective. But I would say Arsenal still looks good. And I still believe through watching that performance, Arsenal win the league. Because I think add Marino to that. Add Calafiore to that because Zinchenko was a weak point, Partey was a weak point, move Rice back to 6, add Marino, add Calafiore or Timber that can play there. Potentially want another bit more quality on the wing, but I think Martinelli, Trossard and Saka are great players. Maybe just want another winger so one, you can manage Saka's minutes because if Arteta manages Saka's minutes, I think he could have a Player of the Year season. I think Bukayo Saka is in my top 3 predictions for Player of the Year if his minutes gets managed. I think Martinelli and Trossard are good. Trossard's very good off the bench in terms of his clinicalness. Potentially, someone that could challenge on the wing. It's maybe what Arsenal need if they really, really want to cement that title. But I still put Arsenal predictions for top. It's going to be them or City, unfortunately. I hate to say it as a Man United fan. I mean, Liverpool look good, but they haven't signed anyone. But let's talk about the Arsenal performance because I want to talk about Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka is the kind of guy, and I don't like to say this, but I'd love to see him in the Man United top. That's never going to happen. But Bukayo Saka on the right-hand side for Manchester United, he's just one of those players that you would want at your club. Do you know what I mean? I don't get why people don't like him. I mean, there's a very small percentage of people don't like him, but I've seen Arsenal fans not like him. I've seen people online not like him. I don't think there's anything dislikable about Bukayo Saka. He seems like a good guy, a good character. He works hard. He gives everything for Arsenal, but he's also a very talented player that's getting better and better each season. That, in my opinion, is Arsenal's best player, and it's the guy they should build around. From left back to right wing, from doing it when Arsenal were poor to now doing it when Arsenal were good, to putting his basically body on the line, being overplayed for Arsenal. I thought he got ran into the ground last season. I think there's a great player in Saka who had 44 touches, 15 touches in the opponent's box, 18 out of 20 passes completed, but this is it here. 5 chances created. 5 chances created in a single game from Bukayo Saka. That's incredible in itself because he can score, he can create the outputs there. I'm so glad I put him in my FPL. I had Saka and Havertz in my FPL, and then I took Cole Palmer out of midfield, put someone cheaper in, and swapped Havertz for Haaland because I was like, oh, do I double up on Havertz and Saka or not? Because they're the 2 players I'm predicting to have big number seasons for Arsenal. I didn't, which I'm kind of regretting now, but I don't want Haaland to score because I don't want City to win. But in terms of FPL, Saka and Havertz were the ones I was thinking of putting in. But I took Havertz out, I'm annoyed about. But Havertz was really good. I'll talk about him. But he won possession 4 times, puts in a shift defensively, 3 shots on targets, 2 tackles, 1 goal, 1 assist. He was phenomenal. And he was driving Arsenal. I can't explain it, but I don't know if this makes sense. But can I say that Saka's like Arsenal's drive? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, for me, he's the outlet. He can score, he can create, he can progress the ball. He gets the ball, he runs. He can come inside, he can go outside and put it across. He's 2-footed, he's a 2-way winger. He's unpredictable. He's got the IQ, he's got the impact, he's direct. He's someone that gets the ball, he makes things happen. When the going gets tough, when Arsenal were bad a couple of seasons ago, before Arteta's first 2 seasons, he's there, lifting up Arsenal. When Arsenal were good, he's there. He can go inside, he can go outside, he can create, he can score. He's the runner, he's the outlet. He is Arsenal's best player. And I think, he's developing every season because he's a young player. But this guy, Saka, he's the kind of player that every team would want. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I thought that every time Arsenal did something, it seemed to come through Saka. Now, I want to talk about another player that had a phenomenal game, and that was Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz, I think, could get a 25, 30 goal contribution season. And the reason I'm saying that is only Cole Palmer has been directly involved in more goals than Havertz in 2024, and that's 21 from Palmer and 17 from Havertz, but Palmer takes penalties. So actually, if you're taking away penalties, I think Kai Havertz has been involved in the most goal contributions in the Premier League in 2024, which is crazy because Kai Havertz didn't really get going till about November, December time, where I think the confidence came in, he got settled in at Arsenal, because once Havertz has got going, he's been great. And I think elements of that is Arteta's coaching. Obviously, I think Havertz's ability's always been there because of his Bayer Leverkusen days, and obviously the confidence going there. But considering he hit 20 goal contributions last season, when, to be honest, like, he didn't really hit the ground running until probably December time, I think that he could go for a 30 goal contribution season. It looks like Arsenal are going to get Marino. They couldn't get Sesko. Havertz is going to be the number 9. I think, I see a lot of Arsenal fans saying sign number 9, sign a number 9, sign a number 9. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I would personally say sign a midfielder before you get a 9, because I think Havertz and Saka more than have the output. I would go for a winger and a midfielder, and then next season get the number 9 that you want and go all in on the number 9 like an Isak. I would almost, like, from my perspective, if I'm Arsenal, I go for a winger, I go for Marino, I go all in next season on Isak, assuming he has a good season for Newcastle this year, because I think he would be the guy, rather than going on a Chokerez or an Austin M that you're maybe not 100% sure on. I think Isak is that guy for what you want in terms of a runner in behind, which is what Arteta wants to move to. But I thought Havertz had a really, really good game. And I think Havertz in 2024 has been so good because he's played in midfield for Arsenal, being good, but he's definitely best as a 9. But 44 touches, 10 touches in the opposition's box, 7 duels won, 5 shots, 3 fouls won, 2 chances created, 1 goal, 1 assist. Havertz is so good in terms of his unpredictability, his movement, his ability to create space. He's such a unique profile of player. And I was doing my match reaction on Man United yesterday. I was talking about Joshua Zirkzee and why I like him, because he's like a unique profile of player. And I think that's what Havertz is. He's a unique profile of player. Does a lot of good work off the ball that might not get picked up unless you really look at Havertz and what he does in terms of creating space. His ability to ghost into the box and make those crashing runs is really impressive. But, he created 2 chances. He won 7 duels. He's a physical outlet. Arteta's really liking a physical squad. Calafiori coming in as tall. Mikel Marino is like the best duel winner in Europe. He's 16th and 17th PL and goal involvement in the calendar year. Is very, very good for a player that, has played in midfield, that got wrote off, that didn't have the best season at Chelsea. And I saw something, actually, and I'm going to find it. I saw a really good tweet on Havertz and Saka here. This one here, ready? This is a really interesting statistic. But Havertz is averaging a Premier League goal assist every 91.5 minutes since the return of the year. Among players with over 1,000 minutes in that period, only Palmer, Isak, Saka and Haaland have a better mark. You look at since the start of 2024, he averaged a Premier League goal assist every 94 minutes. Before that, he averages one every 228 minutes at Chelsea. So now 91.5 minutes, which is, crazy to see the development of Havertz. And when Arsenal signed him, like I said, if they get the Leverkusen Havertz, it's a good signing. And Arteta's a good coach and he could do that. But I was so sceptical when you signed Havertz. I thought, that's a lot of money. That's a big risk. But you know what? He's paid off. Sometimes risks pay off, and I was sceptical about it. I knew Havertz's quality. I watched him at Leverkusen. I remember wanting United to sign him when he was at Leverkusen back in the day. Probably got old tweets of that. But he was really, really good, and I think that Arteta deserves a lot of credit for that. I didn't think Thomas Partey had the best game, particularly in the second half. I think Arsenal dropped off in the second half. I didn't see all of the first half, but I thought for the most part Arsenal were good. They were in control of the first half. They were 1-0 up. They got a bit too comfortable. They laid off. They sat back. They invited on pressure. Wolves did have a good 20-minute spell, but they could have made it 1-1 if it wasn't for some very good saves from David Raya. I thought Thomas Partey and Zinchenko definitely dropped off a bit, and I thought And actually, once Arteta made the subs of bringing Timber on, I thought Arsenal looked a lot better. I thought Timber looked very technically good and technically clean on the ball. Just a good player that I think is going to get better and better as he gets to full fitness. Jurrien Timber was a player, again, I wanted Man United to sign, so I was so annoyed when he went to Arsenal. I thought Odegaard, particularly in the first half, had a really good game. I think he's a workhorse. I think he covers a lot of ground. I think he, is so good in tight spaces at retaining the ball. But I'm still not a standard of Odegaard online. I thought he had a good game. Maybe I'm seeing something other people aren't, but I've seen tacticos going in on him as well. But I thought Odegaard had a good game. I think Timber looked good when he came on. Raya had a very, very good game as well. I think for the most part, Arsenal deserved to win. I think it was a strong performance from them where they let Wolves go into the game for 20, 25 minutes. It wasn't perfect. They didn't win 5-6-0 and storm over sides, but the quality in the Premier League is so good this season. You don't understand that. You look at Villa, you look at Brighton, look at the business Brighton have done, the business Bournemouth have done, the business West Ham has done. Like the quality in the Premier League this season is insane. I think Newcastle have been slept on as well. They've got some quality players that I think, you're not going to win those games 4-5-0. It's about winning the games. And even if you're not 100% at it or 100% at your best, you're getting the 3 points. You're winning the games. You've got the clean sheet. You've got the 2-0 win. Wolves were a difficult game. First game of the season. It's always going to be difficult. And I thought that you did well. It wasn't perfect. There was periods where Wolves could have nicked something. You didn't look unbeatable. And from a Man United fan perspective, that's a positive for me. But I'd be happy with that if I was an Arsenal fan. I think people overanalyze it. It's never going to be completely perfect. Yes, you had a period where you lost a bit of control of the game, but Arteta made subs. He adapted. And I think you get Marino in, maybe a winger so you can manage Saka's minutes. I think Nico Williams would have been class, but he's staying. But if you can get a winger in, I think Arsenal are in a very good place. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Please hit the like button. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. Bye.